What's up and welcome to Nacho's Cafe. This is your boy Will, aka Nacho, and today is Talk About It Tuesday, where me and a guest will sit and talk about it, whatever it is, and that's what we'll be talking about. You ready? All right, welcome to Nacho's Cafe. As you know, today is Talk About It Tuesday, my favorite. And I'm not gonna sit here and do the same old thing and saying where's the tacos. Because I'm just going to add a crunch every now and then. But today, I have, as always, another special guest. And out here in the wonderful Arizona, I have one of my friends named Shane. And he was one of my very, very first friends that I met out here when I moved here to Phoenix. He was a bartender at the bar called Apollo. Was it Apollo 13?
No, just Apollo's.
13?
Girl, no.
I was like, why does 13 want to come out? It's a movie, anyways.
She's
But I met him there, and I met him along with another friend, and we just had a blast, and we just connected. And then every time we saw each other, it was just like, Shane, Nacho Will! And so it was like a magnet, like, oh my God. And everyone was like, what's going on? Like, you guys just embarrassed. Like, I don't really care, And it was just always positive, radiant, like, energy. And those who probably met me and those who probably met him can know exactly what I'm talking about.
a little intense.
It is really intense, but we can understand it. And it's just a really good place where it's coming from. And so what I have is I'm having him today. He's going to share a little bit of his story. I call it like a conquer, trials and tribulation, and learning from existing to living. And I mean, that's a way I could possibly put it in a little positive way. But he went through, as we all go through such situations into our life where we're kind of trying to find ourselves and trying to identify whether it's our purpose, whether we belong in our world, where do we belong in the world, and depending on who you surround yourself with, it could kind of lead you astray sometimes. And sometimes we dabble into things that sometimes at the moment we may find things as a mistake. And a lot of people think of when we go through those tough times in our lives as it being like, wow, don't you have regret in this and that? And when you grow, and I mean truly grow and evolve and look at everything that maybe you used to regret, and then you look at it as a blessing in disguise, that it brought you to who you are today. And I'm one that says it all the time, like, I don't regret anything in my life because it brought me to where I'm at, to where I can understand others. And I love meeting people who have stories because it helps me understand life itself. And I think life is a beautiful thing. I mean, I don't just think it, I know it for myself. And one of the things that we'll get a chance to share on is the addiction, the word addiction. And I think sometimes a lot of us, we think as addiction as a negative, and it all comes as perspective because we all have our own opinions and perspective on things. And I think we need to keep that open because there's always two sides to everything. And when it comes to like a word, there's also another side. And I think even with addiction is, well, what are you addicted to and how did you transform that? And, well, let me ask you. Well, welcome to the show, first of all. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Do you see his shirt, Golden Girls? I'm like, the moment he got up, I was like living. I was like, yes! Go, you can get that Walmart. For $9 at Walmart. We're promoting Walmart today.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I need to have it. But how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic.
I'm good.
Happy to be here.
Me too. So, what I wanted to ask you is the word addiction. Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word addiction?
Well, the word addiction in itself has a negative connotation to it, and it's like usually, a lot of pain and sorrow and, regret and all that. But it's funny that you said trials and tribulations because that's the title of my book's gonna be The Trials and Tribulations of the Gay Redneck from Missouri.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's all it's ever been. It's just trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
And But I mean, addiction. I think we all are addicted to something somehow, some way. You know.
Yeah.
There's a very wide.
You can be addicted to watching TV. You can be addicted to porn. you can be addicted to so many things, you know. And so, and I know as what you shared with me that you conquered an addiction that was introduced to you or you found out, which was meth.
Yes.
Well, how did you discover that? I'm curious.
Well, see, like, and that's what, like, everybody always says, well, you made the choice. Well, of course I made the choice to do that drug.
Yeah.
Like, but now, why did I make that choice?
Yeah.
Like, that's what so many people don't ever stop to think about. And, I'm the first openly gay man from a town of 1,200 people in southern Missouri.
Where at in Missouri?
Do you know where the boot is? I'm literally 30 minutes above the border of Arkansas. Like, you can take a dirt road from my house to Arkansas.
And then you're there.
Yeah,
Nice.
right there. So, I mean, like, to say that I didn't fit in, I didn't even know what gay was. Like,
Right.
We had 2 channels growing up. Like, there was no openly gay people. I lived 10 miles down a dirt road on top of a hill. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I just knew that I was different. And, and my mother was an alcoholic. And, she was, not... Wait, how do I want to put this? She had her ways of, trying to toughen me up and all that good fun jazz. But the first time she kicked me out of my house when I was 12. On my 12th birthday, actually, I came up walking home up the driveway. I was like, "Is there anything you want to say?" And she said, "Yeah, get out." Like, and see, my grandmother had lived with us beforehand, and she had moved out, just to protect me from her.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like an ongoing thing. And like our town was so small, that like, of course, everybody knew everybody's business.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oddly enough, the only people who reached out to me to offer me a safe place to stay, the meth cooks. the irony behind all like, it was like I was friends with one of his girlfriends, and they just kind of were like, "Man, we know what your home life's like. We have an extra bedroom.
Right.
Like, if you want to move in and just help take care of the house, and you can get a place to stay."
Right.
And there was my first line of meth. And see, and the thing is, it's like, I can honestly say without a doubt that meth saved my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was up until then that, like, I hated I hated being, I came out to myself as a fag. Like, I'm a fucking faggot. I'm a fucking faggot. Like, in my high school planner, page after page, top to bottom, just said, I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. And that's all I could ever think about. But then meth came, and I've got all these girlfriends, and it's like I can't figure out, and like it shut off all those emotions. It shut off all that stuff.
You numb.
It made me numb. And then like, I dropped all the girlfriends, and then I actually found a way to fit in with the guys. And I became one of the guys. And like, and then all of a sudden I became kind of cool. And it was like, but it allowed me to endure what I had to until I was able to get out of there. And I actually went to alternative school and finished my junior and senior year in a month and a half,
Wow.
Sitting on a computer.
Yeah.
And then I remember the day they were like, "You're done." I was like, "I'm done." And they were like, "Yeah." And I said, "I can walk out that door and never come back." And they were like, "Yeah." And I said, "Please." And I left. And then it was like 2 weeks after that, like I think, that I left that town. I just turned 17, and I knew somebody had graduated and was living in a town 2 hours away, and just come. I was like, okay, and I never looked back. Like, wow, and, but that's when the journey really began.
And that's why we're here.
That's when it got real interesting.
So what happened next? Because I'm curious. What happened after that? So, because what led you to Arizona, Phoenix?
What brought me here? Like, I literally moved around Missouri. Like, I think I lived in 13 different towns in Missouri. Like, I just kept, basically just trying to find myself, just trying to figure out who I was and what I was doing. And I was living in Phoenix or Kansas City, and I literally was just in this depressed state of mind. And I remember opening up a map. And I saw the word Phoenix, and I had never been. I didn't know anybody, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went to work, and I was working for this restaurant, and they were actually doing a training for some managers, and there was one of the managers in training that overheard me talking about wanting to move to Phoenix, and he said, you know, when are you gonna go? I said, I'm just gonna go soon. Like, and he was like, well, just so you know, he was like, I just moved in with my fiance, and he was like, and there's 1 month left on my lease. He's like, it's an apartment, it's empty. He's like, but it's yours. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Talk about destiny.
It was meant to be. So I literally bought a plane ticket. I left my car on the side of the road. I put the title on the dashboard. I packed up 2 suitcases, jumped on that plane.
I did not look back.
And I did not look back. I didn't. It was the scariest, most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life. Like, it was, I mean, those first couple weeks, I just literally sat there every day, I just bawled and cried and cried. And like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God. But, you know, to push through that fear and, you know, to overcome all that, like, God.
You know, one of the hardest things that I found out in life was accepting your reflection. You know, looking in the mirror and actually identifying that individual looking back. Because I think a lot of us try to avoid that. Was there ever a time in your life where you finally acknowledged that person looking back?
Like, to fully acknowledge? I was going to say that wouldn't happen until, like, recently.
Well, okay, well, where's the beginning?
I know.
Where was the hello?
Gosh, I mean, we have 4 other states to go through before
yes, that's great, though.
Like, but no, I mean, you know, because, like, it's funny because, like, you know, being a little goal gave me in the country bumpkin family, like, you know, I didn't fit in there. Like, you know, and then to be that little small town country bumpkin and then move to the big bad city and like, oh shit. Like, I mean, I'm 35 and I still don't know what it means to be gay or like how to act gay. Or,
I mean, is there any right or wrong way? I mean, to be any way. I think it's just how you feel.
Yeah,
you know,
being your authentic self.
Yeah,
like,
because everybody has an opinion. No, not that way. You want to do like this. You want to swear like that. You know, you want to speak like this. You know, there's someone always has an opinion on how you should be according to their mind and their understanding and through their walk of life. And sometimes, most of the time, it's not like that.
How it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's not like that at all. You know, and I think that's the best part of when you discover your own self. You know,
right.
Did you ever run into your mom again?
No. Well, intentionally. Well, no, because like when I go back home, she lives next to my little brother, and so, but like, I had to cut her out of my life. That was the next state later on, and you know, she, like, I was homeless, and like, because like, I mean, we'll go back to that later. But like Phoenix, like, you know, when I moved there, like, I had a choice of who was in my life, like, you know, like it was like a fresh start, like, you know, and if you breathe the word meth, like I had nothing to do with you, like, because like I was so afraid of what that meant, and so I did everything that I could to, you know, prevent that from happening. And I made it almost 5 years. Yeah. Until I was I don't know if you remember him or not. I don't know if but Matt Bowman. We worked together.
Very familiar.
Well, see, everybody knew Matty. Unfortunately, he's not here anymore. You know, he died 3 years ago of overdose. But Matt was the most amazing individual I've ever met in my life, and like he really just like, you know, he was just this big out and proud, and like, you know, don't give a fuck, like, and you know, he just kind of took me under his wing, and then like we moved in together, and like we talked about our do's and our don'ts, and my one don't was I cannot see, hear, talk about methamphetamines. I was like, it is my, you know, that's my one absolute no. And we lived together for almost 2 years, and like he became my best friend, like, and at the time I was working like 3 jobs, and so I never saw him, like, because I was just always really busy. And like one night I was at the bar working, and I get a phone call, and it was him, and he was saying something like, the cops are coming, the cops are here, I don't know what to do, I may or may not have had this. You know, I love my plants.
Yeah.
And, you know, being a pothead back then, sometimes you throw those seeds in your plants and then you look down and it's like, oh, what's that?
What's growing there?
But I was like, can I keep it? Like, you know, it was just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
But he was just calling me freaking out. And, like, I was like, dude, just throw it in the trash. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, just get rid of it. Like, and then he said, call my sister. She'll know what's going on. So I called his sister and she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, oh. And she was like, you don't think it is? And I said, don't you dare say it. I was like, don't you dare. I was like, and so all I knew is that my best friend was going to go to jail for my stupid shit. Like, and I was not about to have that. So I literally walked out of my job. I said, I got to go. Like, I just have to. Like, and so I left and I ran home and I opened up the door and the lights were off. And there he was, crouched down on a ball. Peeking out the window, and I instantly knew it. And I said, how long have you been out? He's like, 3 days. And I said, were the cops even here? And he was like, they're, and I said, you motherfucker. He was like, they're across the street. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was just like livid. I was just so pissed. And like, I called his sister and I said, get him out of here now. I was like, he cannot be here. He cannot. I don't want to be around this. Like, I just. Yeah. And so she came and she got him. And as they were leaving, I said, where's your shit? Like, I'm going to throw it away. I'm going to get rid of it. And, you know, he gave it to me. And they left. And I walked 4 blocks to the farthest away dumpster that I knew of. I wanted that stuff as far away from me as possible.
Yeah.
I made it to that dumpster. I lifted up that lid. I put it in my pocket, and I turned right back around, and I went home and I smoked it. And that relapse lasted 1 week. I slept with one person who lied to me, and I got the HIV.
Man.
Yeah. So, you know, coming down, you know.
How is that? Because, you know, you see the movies. Is it, you know how they, you know what I mean? How is it like coming down from that? Is it really like that?
Physically? I mean, like, you know, when you're opiates, physical, like, that is a pain you don't ever want to experience. With meth coming down, it's emotional mindfuck. Like, it's because, like, I mean, your cortisol levels are all adjusting back, and your brain literally has to rewire itself. Like, and so it's just like this. Oh, and you're feeling feelings again, and it's like just this. Oh my God! But then you have like there's the shame and the guilt, like, you know, and the beating yourself up, and like, you know, the I'm not worthy. Like, what have I done? Like, you know, and it's just. You just prepare yourself to cry nonstop for 3-4 days and sleep and eat and cry some more. You know, until you finally, you know, suck it all back up and go back out there. Like, but then to realize, because I instantly knew that what I had done, because I was back then, like, I was a big condom junkie, like, oh my gosh, like, you know, and that was, and I just knew, I just had this gut feeling, and I was just like, crap. And so, I mean, I was just, you know, but I didn't just stop and like do Mr. Recovery. Like, I just started drinking, and then the pills, and then it was just like, I honestly don't remember the next few months.
Just wanted to black it out.
That's all I did. I was just blacking out. Like, I just didn't want to accept the fact, you know, that the inevitable was what I knew it was, and I just wasn't ready to accept it. And then it was funny because I was working in a different bar, and I was working during the day, and like, you know, see, my 2 DOCs are meth and opiates, like painkillers, like, ugh. And
I mean, I can understand why. You know, but anyway,
you know, but it's weird because like Percocets will give me this extreme amount of energy, and like I'll be running around alphabetizing, blah blah blah. But then give me a big bowl of meth, and I'm gonna sit in one spot and not move for like, you know, the next 5 days. But I went to work and I finished my shift, and then I went home, and I thought, God, I had this awesome day to make lots of money.
Yeah.
And my boss called me, and he was like, Shane, you went home with the till. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, and then he started and I was like, hold on a second. I was like, I was just there, wasn't I? And like, I didn't even remember that.
Wow.
And I said, I need to call you back. And so I let it all sink in what had happened. And I said, shit. And I just called him back and I said, I'm not going to say anything more than I need to take a leave of absence. And I was like, I think you understand. He was like, yes. And I said, I just need. And my trainer at the time at the gym is the one that said, get up, let's go. He's like, we're going to go get tested.
Yeah.
He's like, you have to do this. Like,
yeah.
now. And I said, I know. And yeah, that was a moment on the that was intense.
yeah.
So yeah, it was
definitely in a moment of your life changing.
Oh yeah. And I remember just screaming a little bit, and that nurse being like, "Are you gonna be okay?" Like,
Yeah.
Like I mean, on top of like the drugs and then that, like I just thought, everyone's gonna hate me. Like, I'm not, I'm just this stereotypical, like, I was raised believing, I'm gonna be gay and have gay sex and get HIV and get AIDS and die. Like, oh god.
I mean, that was the stigma. That was
stigma.
that was what was created. It was like, oh yeah, don't like, we're not the only ones that can get it, right?
I know.
It was just stupidity, but at its best, And how did you turn it all around?
Well,
like all of it, because like, what triggered you? And I know you left.
I did. I left and I went back home to Missouri. And I went out in the woods and went way out there and like, that's always like been my safe haven. Like,
there's some peace. Like, I mean, I can relate because I do cabins. And so I just got to be away from the noise, the cars, just even phones. I turn everything off and just like...
disconnect.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I remember just going out and just sitting and thinking, and I remember this moment very, very well. And I just thought, it was on repeat. This is it. This is over. This is done. Done.
Yeah.
Like, and I thought, I stopped and thought, wait a second. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, no. And then it was just like real quick. And I was just like, I took my power back. And I said, this isn't the end. This is the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, just like what my, tattoo says, is 11/17/11 is the day that I thought my life was over. Little did I know, I was only given a reason to live. And I have fucking lived.
Yes, you have.
And it was actually an awesome turnaround. And like, and I was just like, I gotta go back. Like, I gotta go back right now. And like, I went back and I went to the doctor and like, and I was like, I need to start meds right now. And like, it was just all about creating that mindset.
Yeah.
I don't know what you did.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. Yeah. She was like, but just keep it up.
Yeah. Let's focus.
And so, and I started my own little outreach program. Awesome. At the time, called it Happy Hivers, but that's not exactly.
But that's kind of clever, though. The way you said it, that's actually kind of clever. It's like, let's put a little ring to it,
But now that's Hivers is not very appropriate. Let's not ever say that. Like, but it was just like my biggest thing is that like I found out I was positive and like I didn't know anyone else who was positive. And, like because it's something that nobody's really talking about since you don't advertise. And and so it was just like my own little network of people that like I put myself out there and then they were allowed to connect with me and we just went and did stuff as a little group and like had dinner and movies and it was allowed them time to just be them and like not be afraid to be, because I mean to being diagnosed you're afraid to be around people like do I need to warn them, do I need to like, it's like no stop. But so and then how did it go?
So that's Missouri. And then what
came? Well, that came. I came back to Phoenix.
Came back, okay.
That's
when you started. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And then did that, and was back here for like I don't know about another year or two.
When was that? What year?
And seeing that's when. What year was that? What year?
Because I moved here 2012, and I left at the end of 2014. I saw you. I think. Did I see you in 2012? Was it 2012? Like later? I can't remember. Because I know I was on a date and I saw you in that restaurant and it was like I think we did like this double like, like, and it's like I forgot who I was with. I just stood like shaking, and we like had this moment where we just like we were like paused like, and then we just like that's what we only did. It was like trying to like keep quiet, but we just could not. But that was the last time I had saw you, and you had told me you were moving. You're like, I'm leaving, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where are you going? And I forgot what you told me you were leaving, but you were telling me like I'm leaving because I thought you had left, and then you were like, no, I'm leaving. I'm like, oh, I'm just like I don't know if you were visiting, but I know you said you were leaving.
See, I left and I came back, and then I left again.
Yes.
And I went back to Missouri.
Yes.
Only because like I just knew because I mean so addiction, you know, and drug use and relapses and stuff like that. For the longest time, I had myself convinced that I was a fan of self-sabotage because like it is the feeling of being unworthy. And like, you know, because like I mean, my mother raised me to believe that I was worthless, piece of shit, and like unworthy of love. Like I would never be loved. Like, and it was just like she reminded me that. I mean, the physical abuse was a cakewalk compared to the emotional abuse.
Well, that's worse. It's hard to heal from that.
God, 35
I mean, you can get a scar and it's like, okay, it heals, but internal is just a whole other process.
And especially like that's why I like working with kids, like, because I mean, like what most people don't realize, you know, and especially in society today, when you are 5 years old and you endure like that type of trauma, like, you know, your brain is still developing.
Yeah.
Like, and like these are very important times in the development stages of a brain. Like, you know, and that does carry on into your adult life. So when you see things or people acting out, like, stop and ask yourself why. You know, what could have possibly happened to that individual, you know, that, you know, resulted in that. Like, you know, I worked with a kid here, like, you know, when he was 12, his dad decided he was too feminine and took a belt to him so badly that he had 278 staples up and down his back. I mean, the picture was like something from a Freddy Krueger movie. But, you know, that was when he was 12. And at the age of 15, like, he had no real concept of reality. Like, he lived in his own little, you know, just because that's what allowed him to survive and get through. Yeah. And, you know, and the one thing that I always said was, like, my biggest concern for him is, what is his adult life going to look like? You know, when he's out there running around, society's going to immediately ostracize him and put him down, and he doesn't stand a chance. All because of his fucking arrogant prick dad. Like, and that's just, I don't know, that sucks. But anyway, yeah, just the whole self-worth. And like, you know, when I come back to Phoenix and like, you know, I started volunteering with 1 in 10 and I started doing, and like, I just started to give. And that's where like, you know, I found a big part of me that I like to do. Like, and I will never forget the day that I was walking down the sidewalk and for the first time in my life, like, I was happy. And I knew what that felt like. And it was a new feeling for me, and I wasn't used to it. And, like, I remember just stopping and saying to myself, and I was just smiling, and I was like, oh, my God, like, I'm really actually happy. And what did I do? I went and got some drugs the next day. Because you know, that was unfamiliar.
I was about to say, I was like, it's unfamiliar.
It was very unfamiliar. Like, I was born into chaos. I was raised in chaos. Like, you know, and I thrived from chaos. And I was so happy I didn't know what to do with it. Like, you know, I was surrounded by so much love, I didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. And it was just, like, overwhelming. And it was just like, oh, shit. And so it literally took, like, 2 hours of, like, making an online account and having that shit delivered to my door.
It's crazy how easy they make it, right?
I know. Like, I mean, God, even on Grindr these days. Like, that is just like the instant, like, dry connection. Like, God, you know, just that simple headline. And like, it's just that accessible. And like, you know, that sucks. Yeah. But I mean, that's, you know, I mean, I even had 3 people from that organization like kidnap me, and the 3 of them took 8-hour shifts, supervising me, to make sure that I would come down and you know, and I was just a volunteer for that organization. Like, I made a, you know.
But you planted something there.
I did. And see, but then, you know, where I tried to explain it, I was like, the more loved they showed me, the worse they were making it. Like, I wasn't ready for it. Like,
You weren't used to that.
Yeah, I wasn't used to it. I didn't know how to, like, I couldn't get a grasp on it. And like, it was good as it was making me feel, it was making me feel worse.
You know what's interesting is that it was easy for you to give it, though. But it wasn't easy for you to receive it.
I can love all day, but, like, as soon as anybody wanted to give it back, it's like, what are you doing?
So smart. Get off it!
Look at me. This doesn't make sense. Like, you know, and that was, you know, that took a really long time to figure out. Like, and that was always really weird. Like,
it's all you knew, though.
Yeah.
You know, growing up from a child with that mentality, and being that you probably were just trying to be as loving too, even to your mom, but not receiving it. So having that at such an early age, that's what you have as an understanding of love, is that you don't get it back, you give it. You know, and
constantly trying to just make them happy. Like, and like childhood trauma, like one of the long-term effects is people pleasing and trying to fix everything. Oh God, just stop.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when it comes to that, knowing that you do need something in return, I think it is when you discover your own worth. I feel like, and you're the one who actually gives your own love. I feel like, you know, because everyone's story is different, you know, but I noticed that I started to understand maybe receiving it by showing my own self, that love, giving. Okay, I gave it to everybody else. Maybe I should try to give it to myself. It's gonna be so weird. You know,
it's a weird concept to grab.
Like, you know, but it's like I guess I can practice that, because I feel like when you do show yourself a little bit of that love that you give so freely to others, maybe then you will start to be opening up very little to receiving it from maybe others, because maybe you have a familiarity. That's the word. Of how it that was a tongue twist. Of feeling that, you know, I think maybe then you can start. I don't know, when was it when you actually started opening up to others, loving you, caring for you?
But loving myself, like, gosh, that literally didn't happen until, like, I didn't figure that out until the past couple of years. Like, really, it's like I was talking about, like, that perspective. Like, you know, well, I mean, it was actually in Oregon. Because, I mean, after Arizona, it was Texas, and then it was Oregon.
I do remember Texas. I don't remember Oregon. Texas. I mean, you made a star across the country.
I did. Like, well, because, like, I mean, after I left Arizona and I went back to Missouri and I was staying with my cousin, like, I had made one friend in the whole, like, little party scene who, when I had left, he literally packed up his car and just started driving. He left.
Just go.
He was like, if you're going to go, like, I'm going to go. I don't know where I'm going to go. But he just jumped in his car and started driving. And I was like, okay, bye. And, well, he ended up in Dallas. And I was sitting there, and he, like, texted me and said, you should move here. We can, you know, recreate our life. He's like, I want to live the life that you had. Like, you know, you volunteering and being involved and stuff like that. And he's like, we could really do that here. And I was like, okay, I like the sound of that. And I'm in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm on Grindr. And there's a profile that says visiting from Dallas. And I thought, there's life is always speaking to you. I'm just going to learn to listen. And so I literally just, like, messaged him and I said, hey, did you drive or fly? And he's like, I flew. And he's like, I drove. And I said, oh. I was like, can I ride back with you?
Right.
And he was like, sure. I was like, I just need to get down there. Like, I'd never met the dude. And, like,
wow.
I
mean, but, you know,
I don't fear life or anyone in it. Like, I don't. I never have. And, like, you know, I love people. Like, we all have something to gain from one another. And it's, like, all those weird, random coincidences, like, have been some of the best parts of my life. Like, so I always tell people, there's some really weird person doing something. That's life making that person stand out. Like, telling you to pay attention. Like, you could probably gain something from that.
Tell the truth. I mean, I can only, you know, agree on that. You know, because fortunately, I haven't met, you know, like, those scary people. You know, it's like, you know, the ones like, look out for that. You know, I feel like I have had, you know, or think I have had a good head on my shoulders when I meet individuals. But, I mean, a little bit of risk, like, you know, I mean, you could have turned out to be a killer. Meet me at Apollo's, you know? Like, you know? All right. You know, but it's like, you live life once, and, I mean, if I come out of this alive, it's an experience, you know, and it did. And so I feel like society really teaches you to fear a lot. I know we were talking about that earlier, where it's just a lot of things just teach you how to be, you know, you're scared because we don't understand things. We're scared of what we don't understand.
We're conditioned to fear the unknown. Conditioned. We really are. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, from like TV to like our parents, like, you know, it's just like this network of.
You know, if you don't understand, bad.
Yeah,
that's bad. You know,
be
like,
afraid. No.
Yes,
no.
yeah.
Sorry, what were we?
Talking about moving from Texas. So how did that work? Were people more acceptive? Like, I know you were saying the guy that you were going to Texas with, he wanted to have a life like you and wanted to start it up, like what you guys were like working on, or what you were working on, helping kids and all that. How was it there? Did you guys do that? I take that as a no.
Girl. I got there, and the first place that he took me to, the first person I met was a dealer. He had to, and I still can't wrap my head around. Like, you know, I moved my stuff from one car to his, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. And he says, I have to fix my friend's sink. And I said, okay. Like, and then we go to this nice fancy house, and then a bong suddenly, and I just stopped, and I looked at it, and I looked at him, and I said, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, you can't be serious. I was like, you know exactly what's about to happen. Like, and I took that one hit, and then I did not lay down in a bed for the next 32 days. 32 days. It was just like this insane, like, just go. And like, you just go until you just can't go no more. And I remember the first time falling out, like, I literally was in Starbucks, downtown Dallas, in the middle of the day, and I went to go get some coffee. And I remember sitting down, and the next thing I know is, like, I'm being carried out by two cops, and I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on? He was like, do you? And I was like, no. I was like, what? You know, I was like, what's going on? And he's like, dude, he's like, you fell asleep and you had your hand on your pants and you were screaming stuff in your sleep. And I said, oh shit.
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Oh yeah. First impressions are everything. So, I mean, that was like a nice little, you know, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Oh.
32 days.
Yeah. Like, I mean, talk about, like, not having a concept of reality, and, like, you know, sleep deprivation will...
Yeah, I mean, 32, I must have stuck.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just bad on 2 days.
But it's like, see, I still can't wrap my head around it. Like, I mean, but I remembered, I don't remember, but it was just like, I don't know, it was just intense. It was pretty intense. But, you know, the stories that I have from Dallas are none like any other. Like, I mean, I was selling drugs for an undercover. Like, I just would be walking along and somebody would be like, hey, like, you know, I'm like, okay, like, you know, I love everyone.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
I'll help.
yeah.
Like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah.
But, you know, going back to, like, you know, the self-worth, and, you know, I had reached that point where I needed sleep. I was living a life I didn't want to be living. I was just like, God damn it. Like, and so I called my aunt, and she was like, you're going to have to call your mom. And I said, no.
Yeah.
And she's like, Shane, I've already talked to her. She's, you know, she can probably help you. And I was like, oh, God. So, like, I'm standing in this hotel lobby, and I call my mother. And after she reams into me for a minute, like, she says, you know, I'll consider helping you, but you have to do something for me. And I said, what's that? And she said, I want you to repeat 10 times, I'm a fucking loser, and then I will consider helping you. I did it. I fucking did it.
10 times?
I stood there in that lobby on the phone and said, I'm a fucking loser 10 times just to appease her. Just because I just wanted sleep that bad. I would have done anything for that bet. And her response was, "You're a fucking loser. Why would I want to help you?" Oh, that is when that bitch died to me. Like, I had no other choice. Like, I just hung up the phone and thought, shit. And like, but the clerk at the hotel, like he would hurt me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Can I charge my phone?" He's like, "Dude, just sit," and and he let me sit there, or So I just took a deep breath and said, "All right, here we go," and then back out in the streets you go, and like just start doing what you got to do to survive, and like. And having been in social work for so many years, and like, one of the things that people ask is like, why do homeless people, always go to meth? Like, well, it's an excellent survival tool. Like, one, you don't gotta find somewhere to sleep, and you don't gotta come up with a bunch of money to eat stuff because you're not hungry. Like, so if you've been pushed to that point, like, meth is an excellent tool for survival. Like, I mean,
that's good to understand because you hear that and being as people because you hear like I'm gonna get that money because they're gonna use it on meth or some drugs, and everyone says it, and it's like, oh, why would they go to drugs, and I mean that, and I'm someone who likes to see from both sides, because who am I to judge, right. So it's like I want to understand, and it's like I never knew that. Now I understand that part because I don't know anything about drugs. I know anything about alcohol.
I can't drink. I can't drink. Oh, it's a mess. But see, I recently posted something about that too. It's like, people need to realize that, self-worth, the entirety of what that looks like and feels like, and have an understanding, because, that person sitting on the corner, asking for money, it's more, it's a given that he encounters more people who hate him than understand him. So when society is passing by you 20, 50 times a day telling you that you're a piece of shit, you're unworthy, like, why would you feel the need to go and better yourself when society's already deemed you unworthy and that piece of shit? So like, they're just feeding into it, like, and making the problem worse instead of trying to empathize and understand, and fucking society.
That just breaks my heart.
Yeah. So, long story short, we'll just, there'll be a book one day. Sooner
and
than
I
later.
will definitely promote it.
It's gonna be a doozy. But it took a 21-year-old named Jesus, who arranged
No coincidence
whatsoever. Like, he arranged 3 different pickups for me that I wasn't even aware of. He figured out his phone was tapped, and he went and got a separate phone line. This kid was 21 years old, like, and ended up. I still don't understand how he did it, but I ended up in this little hotel outside of Dallas, and I walked in there, and there he was with all my stuff. And he just looked at me and he said, "I got you out, now go." And I was like, "What?" And like, he had somebody there to take me to Houston. Like, he was like, just go. He's like, "Shane, just go." Like, and I thought, holy shit. Jesus saved me. Like,
I mean,
there's no other way around that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and went to Houston, and that lasted about 3 days before I finally found a halfway that would take me in and just let me come down. And then I was just like, I'll go to rehab. Like, and I did some research, and I found Van Halen. It's in LA.
I think you're on the right. I feel like that's
Van Ness.
Okay, because I heard a colleague who had their child in that too. I think it sounded familiar. Yeah,
that place is intense. Yeah, so they bought my plane ticket, all that, and I went. You're not even allowed to have iced tea because it has caffeine in it, and we were given, not even a week to quit smoking cigarettes, and
wow.
It was 6:30 wake up call, chores, and it was intense.
Yeah.
And I went, but the day that I left, like, the woman wasn't even talking to me. She was yelling, like, she would ask you questions and then, attack you for answering them, and she was just like tearing this guy apart, and I was like, "Fuck this!" I'm like, I gotta go. Like,
Yeah.
and then I left, and
I feel like you're already at your lowest. Why would you still beat me down?
It's like it made no sense whatsoever because they were not, lifting these people up. They were just.
It's just so interesting because I mean that aspect too. 'Cause, I mean, you think to be hard on individuals that would work, or be loving that would work, and it's like, well, what is the right method? I feel like then you really have to get to know the individual because what works for this person doesn't work for the other.
Exactly. There is not one specific way that is going to work with everyone because it all ties into what was your upbringing life, what does, your mindset about who you are. Like, there's a lot of different factors. That's why, like, I think society would really benefit if everyone was, like, forced, there's a trauma-informed care. There's a training, a seminar, like, and it really teaches you, like, different things to pay attention to and how to approach certain situations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. That's my train of thought.
No, it's okay. No, because I don't know. My mind was starting to think about, ooh, how awesome would that be if I had a real Nachos Cafe and I'm Talk About It Tuesday. We have people actually open up and talk about. My mind just went there when you were saying that. I was like, wow, that'd be cool. Just so that people start to understand individuality is huge because the world is trying to put you in one big boiling meshing bowl. You all are here. You're ABC. There is no D, E, F, G, Z. There's none of that. It's just ABC, and you are A, you're a B, and you're C, and that's it. But I think like this, a little bit of B and A. So what does that make me? Confused. Get back into C,
Right.
But that's society.
Yeah, fuck society. No, I love you guys. Trauma is something that needs to be talked about more.
Yeah.
Just like everything else, there's a stigma, there's a shame that goes behind it, and like, people, feel like they have to hide that part of who they are. And like, and I have come to a point in my life where I have finally, accepted all of my trauma and the benefits that have come from it. Like, it's all about perspective. Like, you can see, all the negative and the bad, and that's what we're conditioned to look for and think about, like, because that's what everybody else is worried about. Like, when it's not about, the good aspects of it all, like the learning curve that came from all of it. But and then it was Oregon that I went.
How long were you there?
3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I did know you were there, but it just was so quiet. Well, it is quiet there.
I love Portland.
He actually lived over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most eclectic, like, crazy little city ever.
Yeah.
Like, it was never a dull moment. Yeah. I mean, you can see Darth Vader on a unicycle juggling bowling pins of fire, or like lesbians in top hats and scooters, and the blue man, he's just completely painted in blue, like, and that's it. Like, and they just walk around and do their everyday thing, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Wow, that's great.
Keep Portland weird. That's the
yeah.
motto.
I mean, I have a friend actually who lives out there, her and her family and stuff, and it's actually a nice area. Just to kind of like be very, very subtle. I'm sure you can find some trouble. I mean, trouble's everywhere.
Trouble's everywhere.
So it's not like, oh, it's only in Arizona. Oh, it's only in LA. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
There's a little dark corner everywhere.
Yeah.
What happened after Oregon? You know where I'm going.
I gotta make sure that, like, I have the because, like, I want to talk about the building of the self-worth. Like,
yes, please.
Because I mean that's very important. And I was actually working for this organization called New Avenues for Youth, and it was a homeless youth organization that on their drop-in center, like, on average a day, like 80 youth coming in there from all over different parts of the country, like, and every single one of them will sit there and tell you that the street life is better than their home life. These cookie cutter, picture perfect, like, white picket fence, that's shit. That's only a small portion of what actually is, and it's and what these kids, had to go through. And I was actually, like, they ended up hiring me on full staff, and I was the only one without a college degree but I had a degree in life.
Yeah. That's what I say. I'm like,
I
got a PhD in life. How you doing?
We remember to talk about this later.
Yes.
So I got a lot of things to say about that. But no, like, I mean, it was, but my ability to connect with the youth without even having to do anything. It's like, trauma survivors, I immediately make that connection. It's an unspoken connection. It's a feeling, it's emotion.
Yeah.
Like, and
there's really sometimes no way to communicate it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Like, you see, oh, I got goosebumps, see?
Yeah.
But then just working with those, like, but I'm not very good with boundaries. Like, they made me take this boundaries, like, class, like, 5 times.
So elaborate on those who don't understand.
Boundaries, like, personal boundaries, like, personal.
Because I know you're a hugger.
And I was not allowed to hug. That'd be
so hard. For me, that'd be so hard because there's so much you. It's an invisible. I don't know how to explain it, but you feel so much more when you have a hug. And yes, some people can interpret it differently, but that's not your intention.
No,
my intention is just I got so much love to give you. Can I just give it to you? Feel this hug.
And that 3 seconds, like that, the power behind that, like the transferring of it, like there's so much, like in those kids, like. To have a genuine hug from someone who cares, like a lot of times they've never experienced that. Like they don't know what that feels like. And understand.
You got like, thanks mom, give me a hug. You don't know what I'm going through, but you think you do.
Right.
Not bad mouthing moms, but just saying like I've been there. No, it's different this time. I mean, you can give me your experience, however, it's just different in this era. Take a look. Right. I mean, honestly, it almost gets worse. It gets better, but it gets worse along the way too. It's like side by side, worse, better. It's like it's a race. But and I feel like those who understand, been through it, not saying I know it all, but know how to. There's a light because I found it. You can find it.
Right.
And that's how I use myself as an example when it's something that I can understand when someone's story or whatnot, and they tell me what they're struggling with. And it's like, look, I've been through this. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not saying it's worse. I'm saying I've been through this. I even know someone who went through something similar to yours, and they made it. You can do it. I can do it. They can do it. You can do it. It's all at a state of mind. You just gotta see it through, and you will make it. Hey, here's my number. We can keep in contact. Check up. What's up? I think it's hard to find people who genuinely care about the internal you. Because this is just a shell. I've been living with this for over 20 years. But, there's so much to gain from understanding the traumas that we all go through. Because there's so much.
It's a very deep, deep, deep thing.
Yeah.
That unfortunately, a lot of people miss out on.
Because they're scared. Depending on where they live, it could be a judgmental thing. Like, my friends or status quo is, I think we're too busy trying to please sometimes the wrong crowd when you should be pleasing yourself. It's so, because we're always looking for approval because we haven't approved ourselves yet.
Learn to validate yourself. Like, every little moment, like, don't be arrogant about it.
Yes. There's a difference.
There's a huge difference. Our ego. A lot of people don't even fully understand what the ego is. Like we all have one. It's how we present ourselves, and it's like a scale from arrogance to confidence. Fall in there somewhere.
Yeah, because a lot of individuals I do not understand that they mistaken arrogance for confidence. Like, oh, you think you're all that in a bag of chips, and don't tell me that because I will be like, well, I am. But just in my own world,
right.
It's gotten to a point. I mean, you may think, oh, he's cocky and all that. I'm all that in my head, but I don't think I'm better than you. I think I'm better than where I was yesterday. Yeah, that's just my style. I got to be better every day, be better, and I'm going to treat you better however I can. What would this do for you if I said this differently? Would it, do something inside? What? I just feel like, we can always progress ourselves better. Not trying to be better than anybody else, but I just want to get better. Okay, that was good.
I really like how you said that. Like, better than I was.
Yes.
Than compared to better than you. That is an excellent way. Okay, hold on, forget that.
It's recorded, so.
Better than I was, but not better. Okay. Good job. I'm gonna go back when we're done. There, I explained it. But no, like so I mean,
and this was in Oregon, right?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
Portland.
Okay. Portland.
Yeah, and then of course there always comes that time when I realize I'm happy and I'm loved and I've built my life up and I've done good and it's like, okay, it's time to let this go. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, like you know, and like, oh god, so stupid.
Did that happiness last a little longer than that last time?
Did it happen a little bit? Well, no, this one didn't last so long.
Oh.
Only because, like, I tried to, when it happened, you know, I remember standing in the mirror and looking and saying, this will not affect my job. Like, and I remember trying to affirm to myself over and over that do not let this fuck your job up. Like, and, you know, and you try for so long and then there always comes a point where you lose that control. And,
I feel like you have to lose control to gain it.
Exactly. See? That's where I'm at saying. It's okay to lose that control. It's okay to fall. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. It doesn't matter how many times you get back up. Because every time you get back up, you're just a little bit stronger than before. So fall. That's what I tell the kids. I was like, fuck up as much as you possibly can. Just be smart about it.
Right. Don't stay down there.
Don't stay down. Just, you know, you live, you learn. Like, it doesn't mean that, you know, you're not meant to be.
Right.
Like, you're something to be gained. You know?
Yeah. Yes. So much to gain.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then there came the day that, like, you know, I had to call in, and then, like, I just felt so guilty, and I text my boss, and I was just like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was like, I was like, I don't know what else to do, like, but I've relapsed, you know, and, like, I'm expecting all this, like, and her response was, oh, okay, so how can we fix this? What do you need from me?
Right.
And she was like, do you need time off? I'm like, wait, what?
Like, I don't think you realize how big it was for you to actually admit it. You know, because no one does that. They just disappear.
Right. Like,
and so the fact that you knew and you committed and you actually told, like,
I wasn't trying to hide.
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah. And people do.
I was owning it for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she ended up giving me like 2 weeks paid time off, and she gave me invisible sick time because she had faith in who I was.
Yeah.
And
big.
so it was huge because like I mean I didn't even know my self-worth then, and I went back to work, but then it's just that vicious cycle that always went, and then like I was high of work, and then I got really like freaked out about it, and I had a breakdown, and I went and I hid behind the dumpster. And I was just crying, and everyone was calling me, and like, you know, and then Christina, I just texted her. I said I'm in the parking garage behind the dumpster.
Yeah.
And you know that woman,
wow.
You know, she's the supervisor of this entire program, like this huge organization, and like she just came out there.
It's okay. It's okay.
And all she did was like she just gave me a hug.
Yeah,
and she said, Shane, I love you. She was like, that moment. See, people don't realize how powerful, you know, that moment was. And like, you know, and she just said this, she's like, this is affecting your job. And I said, oh, I know.
Yeah.
And she was like, but Shane, she's like, I'm not going to fire you. She was like, but I'm going to give you a leave of absence.
Yeah.
And she said, you do what you need to do. And I said, well, and I started she's like, Shane, she's like, you do what you need to do, not what I want you to do, what I, you know, it doesn't matter what anybody else, it only matters what you do.
And that completes today's Talk About It Tuesday episode of Nacho's Cafe. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, when you run into a mental wall of personal perspective, talk about it.